What's up, everybody? Let's talk some Fever free agency. I haven't done a Fever video since Temi Fagbenle got picked by the Valkyries, and it's time, now with the offseason fully really settled, to dive into what's going to go on in Feverland. If you're unfamiliar, I'm Tony East. I've covered the Fever since 2020, since they were down in the Wubble, pre-Caitlin Clark, pre-Leah Boston, pre-anyone who's with the franchise now. So I'm really looking forward to this because this is their first offseason that I've covered the team where free agency is the dominant story instead of the draft. They've had a lottery pick every year I've covered them. Who they're going to pick, how they fit with the core has always been a story. And this year it's the opposite. It's should they add veteran talent around the team that they have? And if so, who, at what positions, and what will it make the rest of the team look like? Because a lot has changed. Even though nothing has happened roster-wise besides Temi going to Golden State, I think you can expect a new look from the Fever. And I think that's been obvious from the signs told to us and the moves the Fever have actually made. What we've been told is Stephanie White, their new head coach, wants them to play differently, more creativity, she said. You can read this in my story I wrote for the Next that came out on January 12th. But that stood out to me so much, is that she does expect the team to play differently. She said they can be more creative on offense, they can utilize more versatility, and, quote, utilize certain players in different ways, unquote, right? That's a quote. That's something someone says. And then the actions back that up, because Temi Fagbenle was left unprotected in the expansion draft. Clearly, to me, one of the 5 most productive players on the Fever last year was not left to be protected. And you can say there's financial implications to that. There certainly is. In fact, the Valkyries gave Temi Fagbenle a restricted qualifying offer today. She'll be a restricted free agent for Golden State this offseason now. So if they want to match any offers or keep her, they easily can. If the Fever thought that Temi, at her next contract and price, would have still been a top 5 player on their team next year, they probably would have kept her, right? So there's a lot of signs, verbal and action, that the Fever plan to have a different play style next year with their new front office, with their new coaching staff, and with whatever forms their new team. What exactly is that going to be? I don't know. No one knows, except for the Fever, who are trying to do what they're specifically going to do. If you made me guess what it's going to be, I would assume, given what the Fever's best groups were last year, that they would like a lot of shooting and defense around Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Leah Boston, assuming they keep Kelsey Mitchell. We will get to her in a second. But I think laying that groundwork of what you can expect the Fever to try to do this offseason, start there. Look at how are they actually going to play. And if they're looking to add shooting talent, if they're looking to add defensive talent, those types of players would fit around that style. Now, let's go backwards. Let's get into more specifics. Kelsey Mitchell is the story this offseason for the Fever. The Fever's free agents, by the way, Kelsey Mitchell's contract has expired, in which she'll be a free agent come February 1, technically. Erica Wheeler fits in the same boat. They are both core-eligible free agents. Only one of them can get cored. Erica Wheeler will not. That doesn't make any sense. I am operating under strong assumptions that Kelsey Mitchell is going to get cored at some point in this offseason. Doing so puts an offer in front of Kelsey Mitchell, a 1-year supermax that she could just sign at any time, but she could only negotiate a new deal with the Fever should she get that offer. So that is step 1. Figure out what Kelsey Mitchell's contract is going to be, and I think there's some interesting discussion what Mitchell should consider there, because there's a new CBA coming next year. And I wonder if Mitchell and lots of other players in this case already have seen Kelsey Plum get cored, Brianna Stewart get cored, Gabby Williams get cored this offseason. Satu Sabli, I believe, is going to or will get cored, or has, been cored, although she has stated on the record she has played her last game in Dallas. Lots of good players got cored, but I think they would like to have 1-year contracts because there's a new CBA coming for the WNBA. And there's a chance that means there's an opportunity for more lucrative contracts next summer for any player who's a free agent. So I think players, if they can, would like to be free agents next year. And so I guess, I don't know this, but I would guess a lot of agents are going to try to push, especially with very talented players who have more say, to sign shorter deals, 2 years, 1 year, particularly the 1 year because of the specific CBA timing. And so a core qualifying offer to Mitchell instantly, I feel like, since it's at her maximum salary of a supermax, she would just sign the core qualifying offer. That's fine. She's a good player. She can shoot. She fits with Caitlin Clark. That would make a lot of sense for the Fever to do, but just keep that in mind that some people might interpret that as failed negotiations with the Fever or something. I just think that'd be smart business from Kelsey Mitchell. Why would she negotiate should that offer be on the table? Now, the rest of the Fever's considerations are smaller in talent, but still worth thinking about, right? Do they want Erica Wheeler back? And if so, at what kind of money? Do they want any or all of the following players who are on currently unprotected contracts for next year, Grace Berger, Christy Wallace, or Victoria Saxton back? That is also something that they should probably think about and consider, because that influences how many roster spots they have and things of the sort. But with just Mitchell and Wheeler and Fagbenle gone, the Fever have 3 draft picks. If they make all 3 picks, that's 12 players. That's how many you can have. You can bring more into camp. That's why they'll certainly add players. But their offseason could just be that straightforward. It won't be. They should want to add talent. They should want to be better now. Their proof of concept was there last year. They started 1-8, and then they were 19-12 the rest of the season. Right? A 19-12 team over a 44-game season would win something like, I can't do math very quickly, but 28 games ish. I'm going to do the math now, actually. 27 games. There we go. My mental math was pretty close. 27-17, that team would be. That's great. That's a good team. And that was last year's roster. That does not bake in any growth of young talent. That does not bake in how much Stephanie White will boost things. And if there are new players, that will also help, right? The Fever are that good right now. They showed it last year over almost 3/4 of the season. So they should want to add talent. They should want to add defenders. They should want to add shooters. And if they can, a star would be great. But I would say this. If they can only get a player who's going to agree to a 1-year deal, it's very possible that they could re-sign that player again in the 2026 offseason. But if it comes down to giving up assets in a trade to get that star player in, they have to be pretty dang sure they're going to keep them. If they can get someone in a certain situation who's been cored, for example, because of that trade, that's great. But are they certain they're going to be able to keep them beyond that 2025 season? That's a question they'll have to ask. And I'm only presenting that to say, obviously it's good if the Fever get a star player. Like, they'd be in or near championship contention if they do so. But it's not as cut and dry as just if XYZ great player is available, the Fever should get them. They have to think about the timing. Next summer would be awesome. I mean, you can't control everything as a franchise, but Katie Lou Samuelson, Damiris Dantas become free agents. Potentially Lexi Hall and Alyssa Smith become free agents. Christy Wallace, potentially. Unprotected deals elsewhere on the team. They could have a ton of space in 2026. New CBA kicks in. Go get your players then, right? That is also something that exists for the Fever. So there are lots of paths, I feel like, that their free agency period could take. To very simple, kind of run it back, add some stuff, to very complicated, go try to get something awesome. Alyssa Thomas could be on the market, right? We've already seen cores for Kelsey Plum. Kelsey Mitchell could get cored. There's questions about Jewel Lloyd and really everything going on in Seattle. What's going to happen with Neko Ogumake? What's going to happen with all sorts of other players? I'm just scrolling through a free agency list and trying to find the exact perfect player to point out, but there's a lot of very talented players available in this free agency period. And so that is something the Fever could pursue. But I wonder if simply looking for fit right now and totally figuring out what are the absolute best fits, worst fits for this Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White group, and then next year when they have all the resources in the world, attacking it that way might be the move, right? The best 10 free agents on ESPN.com, Neko Ogumake, Alyssa Thomas, Emma Meesman, if she plays in the W again. Some just terrific talents that would help the Fever a lot. Bonner, Bree Jones, lots of Sun players, lots of familiarity with Steph White. Satsu Sabali, much has been made of her. Obviously, Mitchell herself's in that top 10. Like, any of those players would help the Fever tremendously. There'd be fit questions with some of them, but the best combo of like shooting and defense possible, they should try to acquire it. If not, they need to look down the line, I think, and try to get some 3 and D players. Easier said than done, but a big part of Lexi Hall being one of the most key role players for the team was her ability to do exactly that last year. They tried to rely on Christy Wallace a lot early in the season because she was defending very well, and in the past she shot it well. She did not last season, right? So that, to me, is what to look out for in Fever free agency. Do they chase a star? And if so, can they do it for multi-years? If not, can they just get a star without a trade? If they can't get a star without a trade that they don't like, what 3-and-D players can they add? Now let's finish up with positions, right? You look up and down their roster, what they currently have. Caitlin Clark in the backcourt for sure. Grace Berger maybe. Kelsey Mitchell maybe. On the wings, Katie Lou and Lexi Hall are still around. And then in the front court, Damiris Dantas and Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Smith. They probably need a backup 5 or another 5 for sure. Someone behind Boston because Dantas, good player last year, and Alyssa Smith is better at 5 than 4, I think. But those two are going to play 4. So maybe another 5 pending Victoria Saxton, although I'd imagine she's played her final game for the Fever. I don't know that. The wing, if you only have Hall and Samuelson, you probably need a little bit more talent there. They had Wallace filling in on the wing last year, and they could get someone even better in that spot potentially, right? That would be a place to look. They have guards. If Caitlin Clark can continue to play as many minutes as she does, same with Kelsey Mitchell, they probably need a guard the least, but you can always prep for injuries and get a stable vet kind of backup one like Erica Wheeler, the role she played last year, and maybe that is Wheeler again. But if you made me look at the needs the team has, I think they need a wing the most, more wings the most, and talented wings. They need a backup 5 the second most, and then a steadying hand guard the third most. They have draft picks. They have cap space. They have options. And I am not envious of Kelly Krauskpf, who has to figure out how to do it all with free agency coming soon. Players are already getting cored. Some training camp contracts have already been signed. Fever quiet so far, but when they do stuff, I'll break it down right here on this channel. If you have any questions, I'm on Twitter at Tony R. East. That's the best way to contact me or comment on this video. I'll reply if I know anything of certainty. I have to be very careful about making sure I'm telling you guys when I am estimating or guessing what a team could do. Thank you guys for watching this one, and we'll see you very soon.